We're going to do some enhancing of greeting cards using watercolor now. I've got a painting of a sunflower here that I think begs for an extension down the stem. In order to do this easily, I'm going to use a Miracle Wedge brush. Here's a brand new one. This is a low Cornell Miracle Wedge. It's a number 8. If you look at the brush shape, it holds a lot of pigment in it, but it gives you a beautiful fine line, so the control is a painter's joy. Like I've told my students, I very seldom have this brush out of my hand. I'm going to switch to my old favorite now, which has been well used. And in order to do the stem of this sunflower, I'm going to need a couple of colors. I'm going to go into Hooker's Green and make a puddle. I've got my Hooker's Green quite wet, so I've got a goodly amount of pigment in there. I'll clean the brush off and go into Bumblebee Yellow. This is Cheap Joe's Bumblebee. And I'll make a puddle there, and then with a clean brush I'm going to introduce those two to each other. A little bit there. I think I'm happy with that. And maybe a touch of brown on the far side of the green. Okay, I'm going to paint this stem upside down because I find that's the easiest way for me to do it. So I load my brush. This Miracle Wedge brush takes a lot of pigment in it. I load the brush up with the darker green, come down to where I think the bottom of the stem should be, and make that mark and just pull gently and touch it to the existing stem. I'll go back in there and just make sure I have a nice barrel of wet. Leaving that, I'll go over to the yellowy green color, load that up, because I do have a stem here with a shadow, so there are two different greens, a lighter green and a darker green. I'm going to bring that lighter green up, and then I'll touch them together. I'll let them marry on the paper. And turn it around, and I'll have a look and see what I've got. I think I'm going to jump back into the darker green just for a tiny touch and pull it down here. Okay, and I probably better stop because, as we all know, we can go too far too easily. So that would be the sunflower. You notice I put the image up higher on the card so that the stem balances and fits nicely. Now what I'm going to do is put that to one side and bring in a succulent bunch of grapes that I painted. This is a terrific bread and butter image for a thank you for somebody for a wonderful meal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extend that stem outside of the rectangle, and it's going to delight the person who receives it because it's so much more than just a flat picture. So I'll go into a brown, make a puddle of brown, and clean that off, jump into a blue-red, pop a little of that in there, and I think I'm going to pop some violet in because it is grapes, and just make hopefully a bit of a glowing color. And I'll come up here to outside of the picture and continue that stem. So there's a end of the stem where it was cut, and pull down to that, and I'll come right down that stem joint there and there. Don't have to, but for some reason it makes me feel like I'm completing it. And there's a stem on the grapes, which I hope you think is as cute as I think it is.